Welcome to this program of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion meditation. What we do in these programs is go through a series of practices, and we have a short period for each one so that you can be introduced to them. If you already know them, be refreshed. And then because they're on the YouTube channel, you can go and play them again and hit pause after each instruction and practice for as long as you'd like. We do a grounding and centering practice. We'll do that with our eyes closed. Then with our eyes kind of half open, just gazing very closely in front of us, we do a more internal mindfulness practice. Then the next phase is opening our eyes fully and being more connected to environment out there rather than in here. And then we do a contemplation that invokes compassion, which is the wish that others and ourselves be free of suffering, and kindness, which is the wish that others and ourselves have more happiness and contentment. So those are the sequences of the practices. There are a lot of these on the YouTube channel. Today, what I thought I'd do is go right into the practices and spend a little longer on the mindfulness and awareness practices. And we'll just do a short contemplation at the end on compassion. So, excuse me, because we're doing part of this with our eyes open, you'll want to be sitting in a situation where you are not looking directly into a screen, because we're just going to have our eyes open and unfocused for a long period of time. You don't want to be looking directly at a screen. So you can either move your device or move your seat or both, so that there's open space in front of you, not directly into a screen. And the idea of mindfulness practice is that our mind is full of our experience in the present moment, which is our 5 sense perceptions, and also the mental perception, our awareness of our thoughts. Now, the difference with the thoughts is that sometimes they capture our attention and then they completely fill our mind so that we're taken away as in a daydream. And then we lose track of all the other 5 senses. But our awareness is kind of like a monitor. Some people have bodyguards. We have this mind guard, which protects our mindfulness. And that is, after a while, if we've wandered into a daydream, something wakes us up. We go, oh, I was someplace else in my mind. Now I'm back in the present moment, relating with all my senses. Now we can relate with our thoughts as something that's happening in the present moment that we notice. You can notice when you're thinking. The difference is your reference point is your mind that's recognizing that, as opposed to becoming one with the thoughts and going off into a daydream. So the process that we're trying to do is be more present and extend those periods of time a little longer, and catch ourselves when our mind wanders a little sooner, so that more of our time is fully aware of the present moment. Now, that doesn't mean we can't plan the future, but we're aware that what we're talking about a possible future rather than off into a fantasy of the future. We can learn from the past by reflecting on it, but that's thinking about it rather than being caught in a fantasy of the past and even imagining that it could have happened differently. So that's the reference point. So the key is, the basic practice is being present and noticing when we're not, with a sense of humor, because the mind does wander, and not beating ourselves up for not being present, but simply acknowledging and saying, oh, that's wandering. That was wandering, because as soon as you realize it, you're already back. That was wandering. This is presence. And now we return to whatever the instruction was, because mindfulness means remembering and knowing what you're doing while you're doing it. So let's get started. And it's helpful to have an upright sitting posture. If we're slumped or leaning back against something, there's a tendency to fall asleep. So we want to be sitting up. If you have back issues, you can put a little support by your lower back or just tucked under your butt to help you sit up straight. If you have to lean back, it's okay, but be as upright as you can. So feel your seat that you're sitting on and feel your sit bones pressing into that seat. Let your eyes gently close and just be aware of making it 50-50, that your weight is equally distributed between your two sit bones. Your legs are either, your feet are flat on the floor, so your legs are extending, your upper legs extending straight out, your lower legs vertical, perpendicular to the ground, about hip width apart. If your knees are higher than your hips, it puts a strain on your back, so just cross your legs right there at the ankles. Let your knees open up a little wider so that they're a little lower than your hips. You want your back upright, but not stiff. And you want a connection with the uprightness of your back, extend it all the way through your neck to the back of the top of your head, as if there's a line from the back of the top of your head all the way down to your tailbone. There's actual curvature, but it feels like a straight line. That way your chin isn't pushed out forward or tilted up or tilted down. When your neck and the back of your head are straight up, your chin comes in naturally. Your arms, your upper arms are hanging down straight from your shoulders, perpendicular to the ground. Your hands are palm down on your thighs and not stretched out in front of you or pulled back too much. Just wherever your elbows are from your upper arms hanging down, leave your elbows there and swivel your hands up onto your thighs. And it's helpful for this uprightness to have your sternum, your breastbone, feel like it is opening up. So it feels like it's moving slightly forward and slightly up. Just a quarter of an inch is enough to feel like an open chest. Your shoulders go back a little bit so that they're right under your ears. It really sets your whole upper body posture by raising that sternum just a tiny bit. Your jaw is relaxed, but your mouth is not slack open, so your lips are very lightly touching or very slightly parted. You can leave your tongue as it is or let it gently float up and rest lightly on the upper palate just behind your teeth. In the tradition, it said that reduces the flow of saliva when your tongue is touching there. So you might try that. Right now, our eyes are closed. And so that's our posture. Just tune in, feel it all the way. What are your feet? Where are your feet? Where are your legs? Where's your torso? Where are your arms? Your neck, your chin, your head. And that's the posture we want to relate with. It takes a little tension to hold the posture, but we want to reduce the unnecessary tension around it. Sometimes we walk around with our shoulders up near our ears and we don't realize it, or our jaw is clenched, or our deep belly is clenched. So let's look at those areas. Just notice, is there tension in your face that you don't need to hold your posture? Just let it soften. Your jaw without your mouth hanging open, let it soften. Your neck and your shoulders, just let your shoulders hang down. You may be surprised. You may feel like they were hanging down. Just really let them go, and they might drop a little more. Maintain that little bit of tension to hold your breastbone up a little. Notice your stomach, deep belly, pelvic region, any clenching. Without losing your posture, just let it go. Let it melt, let it soften. Your arms and your hands, just let them be. Any tension, let it soften. Same thing for your legs. Now let your awareness rest in the deep core of your torso. Feel not just the side to side width of your torso, but front to back as well, the depth. We're three-dimensional beings. Feel it expand as the diaphragm pushes down and draws air into our lungs. Feel it contract as the diaphragm goes up and pushes the air out. You're going to be an observer of your breathing and your bodily sensations rather than a director, not controlling them. Just noticing. Feel that place in your deep core of your torso. It's quiet down there. Just a gentle movement of expanding and contracting. Now, gently open your eyes about halfway so that you're looking down under your eyelids, just a couple of feet, no more than a meter in front of you. Soften your gaze so that you're not looking at anything particular, but just aware of the space that your body is sitting in. Without tilting your head down forward, you can see the front of your body in the lower part of your vision. Within awareness of that space that your body is in, feel the internal sensation, the feeling of expanding and contracting. You might feel part of it in your chest, that's fine. You might notice the air coming in through your nostrils. As best you can, breathe in just through your nose, and mostly out through your nose. If a little goes out through your mouth, that's okay. But the main focus is the internal feeling of filling and emptying. And we'll do that for a few minutes. Again, if your mind wanders, when you realize it, just notice, wandering. Reconnect with your posture, awareness of the space, and your breathing. If you found that your mind was very, very busy, you can settle it by counting the breaths. 1 as it comes in, 2 as it goes out, 3 in, 4 out, and pick a number to go to, 10 or 12 or 18, and then start over. If you got drowsy and your posture slumped and your eyes closed, reinvigorate your posture, open your eyes all the way, and pay more attention to the feeling of the air coming in through your nostrils and filling your chest or upper and going out the same way. And we'll continue for a couple more minutes. As the gong fades, you can move around a little to refresh yourself as needed. And the next practice is open awareness. Our eyes will be fully open. The direction you're looking is where your eyes would naturally rest. You're in a good posture. Don't try to look up or try to look down. Your eyes will naturally rest on a diagonal somewhat below the horizontal, different for everybody. But then again, soften your gaze. Open your peripheral vision, side to side, top to bottom, so that you're just open to all the space in front and around you. Rather than focusing internally, we're going to tune into the environment, and we use our breath to take us out. The breath goes out, it mixes with the air, the atmosphere in the room, and becomes one with that atmosphere in the room and diffuses into that atmosphere. In the same way, as the breath goes out, let your mind open up to the environment, mix with the space. Like the breath mixes with the air, let your mind mix with the space in front and all around you, and diffuse into that openness. And within that openness, sights, sounds, bodily sensations, smells, maybe even tastes, and certainly thoughts all arise in our perception. We perceive our thoughts as well as our other senses. It's okay to let your mind wander among the sense perceptions because they're all happening in the present moment. So we use the tendency of the mind to wander to remain present just by moving among the sense perceptions. Again, if one of your thoughts captures your mind and you get taken off into a daydream of the past, future, or somewhere else in the present, when you realize it, you wake up. At that moment, reconnect with the breathing going out, open, diffuse, and rest in that openness. The body breathes in by itself. It's included in your awareness, but there's not so much a focus in here as opening out there. And what you may find is after several breaths going out, you don't need to follow the breath. You can just rest in that openness for as long as that lasts. And if your mind gets occupied in a thought and you realize it, go back to the breathing, going out, open, diffuse, and rest. And we'll do that for a few minutes. Reconnect with your posture. Open front. Awareness of space. As the gong fades, reinvigorate your posture and raise your gaze looking out to the horizon or slightly above. Now we'll do a contemplation on compassion and kindness. Imagine that your awareness extends out beyond the area you can see, out to the whole region that you know you're in. Breathe out and open out further. Imagine your awareness extends out beyond the horizon, out to the sky in all directions. That your open mind is as vast as the sky. And reflect on the fact that all the living beings on this planet, on our earth, we're all under that same sky. We're all walking on the same earth. We're all breathing the same air. Beings in the ocean are all in the same water. And as living beings, we all seek contentment and well-being, health, feeling good. We all want to avoid suffering, fear, anxiety, and feeling bad. So we all share that in common. And rouse your heart. If you want to put your hand over your heart center, which is at the center of your chest at heart level, and open, raise that up so that it opens your heart of compassion. And as you breathe in, imagine, I wish I could free all beings, relieve them of their suffering. And as you breathe out, think, I wish that I could send happiness and contentment and well-being to all. Take away their suffering, send them happiness. That's our wish. Just cultivate that feeling. If a particular person or group of people comes to mind, you can focus on them, wishing that you could take away their suffering, wishing that you could send them happiness and well-being. You can include yourself, wishing that you could be free from whatever suffering you're going through. And as you breathe out, wishing that you could have relaxation, contentment, well-being, freedom from whatever suffering, and filled with happiness instead of the suffering. taking away suffering, sending happiness to yourself and others. And finally, we know that the cause of all the harm that people do to each other comes from these poisonous emotions of hatred, greed, fear, closed-mindedness, jealousy, lust for power. So, like someone would suck the poison out of a snake bite if their loved one got bit, generate the wish that as you breathe in, you could remove from all beings the poisonous emotions. And as you breathe out, imagine that you could fill them instead with love, understanding, and kindness. Open-mindedness and acceptance, generosity and patience. And we aspire to include ourselves so that whenever we feel these negative emotions arising, we set the intention that as best we can, we replace them with those positive qualities. And as the gong fades, just let go of the contemplation. Come back to your body, the space that you're sitting in. Feel your breathing. And let everything settle. That concludes our session of mindfulness, awareness, and compassion practice. So thank you for participating. And what we like to do is set the intention from leaving here that we want to benefit others. So we want to dedicate the practice that we've done to the benefit of others. And you can repeat after me or use whatever words you would like. May the practice we have just done be of even more benefit to others than to ourselves. And thank you for participating in the practice.